Hey, I'm Steven and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. So in this video, I'm explaining why your Tesla stock is worth way more than you think. And I mean way more. Not a little bit, way more than you think. So let's get into the video. But first, hey guys, if you live in the US and you'd like to help out the channel and get up to 4 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 2 free stocks between $2.50 and $250 each just for opening an account. And if you deposit $100, you'll get a further 2 free stocks valued between $8 and $1,600 each. That is an obnoxiously good return on your investment. I mean, really, deposit $100 and you'll end up with, at minimum, $21 worth of stocks, a 21% ROI on your money. And if you're in Australia, the UK, or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Let's get back to it. So, credit where it's due. This video was heavily inspired by something I heard Dave Lee at Dave Lee on Investing say about Tesla a few weeks ago. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, since Dave is an incredibly humble guy, I'm going to point it out because these are the facts. In my opinion, Dave Lee has both the biggest balls and brain of any Tesla investor on YouTube, period. And yes, I know all of them. I'm a big fan of giving credit where it's due, so I'm going to do exactly that. Dave Lee was all in on Tesla stock in 2013, has seen well over a 100x return on that. Do the math. $1 million in, well over 100 million today. You get the point, right? Exactly. The guy had conviction, courage, did his homework, saw an opportunity, had high levels of conviction, followed that conviction, and is now in a reasonably comfortable position. It's not an accident. Dave didn't just decide one day to take an enormous risk. Dave did his homework. Dave did a lot of thinking. Dave saw an opportunity. Dave went after it. Dave wins. Alright, with that said, let's get into the video. As most of you will know, I'm a long-term investor. As I say, the only kind of investor. Arrogant, obnoxious, call me what you will, but I don't think the people investing over the short term are investors. Most of them think they are, but don't realize they're actually in the casino. They're introducing enormous risks by holding for short periods of time. That increases volatility and uncertainty. Over the short term, the stock market can do anything. As they say, in the short term, the stock market is a voting machine. Over the long term, a weighing machine. So, looking forward 10 years to 2030, we're going to do an exercise to figure out what percentage of Tesla do I own in 2030? What percentage of their production? How many of the vehicles coming off production lines are mine based on my ownership percentage of Tesla? And we'll do the math for you as well, so you too can work out how many shares of Tesla do I need to own one vehicle worth of production in 2030. So let's have a look at the numbers. And by the way, just to be really clear, this is back of the napkin math. Conceptual, high-level macro stuff. Just trying to illustrate a point, so no, you don't need to point out if I do a little bit of rounding here and smooth stuff around the edges. I'm not trying to be ultra hyper specific, just trying to illustrate a point and show you guys and girls some ways that you can think about your ownership stake in Tesla. And the reason that I've mentioned this now is because I know there's always 1 or 2 people in the comments. Just know that I will absolutely eviscerate you now if you're that guy or girl.
Oh my god, your assumptions are so ridiculous. Why'd you use this number? No, you should have used this. That's outrageous. I can't believe you thought that.
Once again, this is a thought exercise, nothing more. Use your own numbers, use your own assumptions. I'm illustrating a point, not making predictions or claims about the future. So, Tesla has 947,900,000 shares outstanding. Let's just round that up to 1 billion shares. Nice, easy number. And in 2030, I estimate, and Tesla are aiming to produce approximately 20 million vehicles per year. Let's use 20 million because it's a nice round number. Time to break out the calculator. Don't panic, this won't take long and hopefully it won't hurt too much. So, what we're trying to determine now is if Tesla has 1 billion shares outstanding and in 2030 produces 20 million vehicles, how many shares would you need to own 1/20 millionth of Tesla, the company? In other words, one vehicle of their 2030 production. Pretty simple. Let's do the math here. We throw in 1 billion shares, divide that by 20 million units produced, and we're looking at 50 shares per one vehicle of production, approximately. So there you have it, a nice round number. If you're watching along at home and you own 50 shares of Tesla, in theory that means in the year 2030, your share of Tesla, the company, its share of production will be one vehicle. If you own 100 shares, 2, 1,000 shares, 20, and so on. With Tesla stock now at around $700 per share, around all-time high levels, that means in theory, if today you own $35,000 worth of Tesla stock, in the year 2030, That 1/20 millionth share ownership of the entire company, those 50 shares worth $35,000, will be associated with the production of a product that's probably going to also sell for around $35,000. Of course, that's not pure profit, but you can start to see how powerful it can be to invest early in the stock of a company with phenomenal growth ahead of it. So let's put this in context by applying this to my own situation. I own a little over 5,000 shares of Tesla stock with an average buy price of a little under $90 per share. Let's use round numbers and assume that I own exactly 5,000 shares of Tesla and my average price is $90 per share. So $90 per share times 5,000 shares equals an approximate cost basis of $450,000. Those 5,000 shares divided by the 50 shares per one vehicle means that I will own approximately 100 vehicles of Tesla's 2030 production. So two very quick but important calculations here. My cost basis, my total capital in approximately $450,000 entitles me to 100 cars worth of production in the future. That means my per vehicle capital investment in Tesla stock for 2030 production today is just $4,500 per vehicle. You guys sick of looking at a calculator yet? You'd prefer my beautiful face? Yeah, I didn't think so. Back to the calculator. Time to pull another nice round number out of my rear end. This time, I'm going to assume that in 2030, for every vehicle Tesla sells, they make a pure profit, bottom line, net profit of $5,000 per vehicle. $5,000 per vehicle times the 100 vehicles that my ownership stake accounts for equals $500,000 pure profit just for these 100 vehicles controlled by my 5,000 shares of Tesla stock. So, approximately $450,000 capital investment 10 years or so in the past equals a 100% ROI in pure profit, 100% return on equity every single year from 2030 and beyond. Kind of insane. Now maybe you paid more for your shares, maybe your average buy price is 7 or 8 times higher. Do the math, still pretty crazy numbers. And keep in mind, this $5,000 figure in my mind is extremely conservative. I mean, I'm basically counting nothing but the profit on the hardware. No software sales, no full self-driving subscription or sales, no auto bidder revenue, no solar revenue, no battery revenue, no VTOL revenue, no HVAC revenue, no battery cells sold to other automotive manufacturers revenue. None of that whatsoever. We're just talking about profits on the hardware alone. This doesn't include any insurance revenue, any of the colossal, enormous tsunami of high margin robotaxi revenue, none of that. This is just an estimate on profit just on the hardware alone, just on the vehicles Tesla produces in the year 2030. Never mind any of the other products, infotainment, upgrades over the air, none of that whatsoever. Now I know these numbers may come across as totally insane to some of you and extremely conservative to others. That's fine, use your own numbers, whatever helps you sleep at night. But just finally, I'm going to illustrate a final point based on Tesla's total revenue and the share of that I and you are entitled to based on how many shares you own. My estimate for Tesla's 2030 revenue conservatively is about $1.5 trillion. Yes, trillion with a T. Yes, I'm not insane, and yes, that is my conservative estimate. Could be 2 or 3 times higher than this depending on robotaxi margins, software revenue, etc. Use your own numbers, that's fine. Just trying to illustrate a point. Alright, this is the last time we'll be using the calculator in this video. I know to those of you who aren't numerically inclined, this has probably been a little bit traumatic. Deal with it, honey. We need to do these things. This is an important part of being an investor, doing the numbers, even if it hurts. So now what we're going to do is actually calculate for every 1 share of Tesla stock you own, what share of Tesla's revenue in 2030 in dollar amount do you own? Easy numbers. So $1.5 trillion worth of revenue, there we are, divided by 1 billion outstanding shares, just approximately, equals $1,500 per share. Yes, 1 share of Tesla today in 2030 is a share of $1,500 of revenue. That's your revenue based on your ownership amount of the company. Kind of crazy. Let's just multiply that by 5,000 for this guy, approximately how many shares I own. Right, about $7.5 million of revenue. Let's just say that Tesla is making a 10% net profit on their revenues. Use your own number, that's fine. That would mean $750,000 of pure profit based on $1.5 trillion of revenue in 2030 based on owning about 5,000 shares of Tesla today, which I paid $450,000 for in total. Maybe you own 70 shares of Tesla. 70 shares times $1,500 of revenue per share in 2030 means $105,000 of revenue just based on those 70 shares of Tesla stock that you currently own. So I hope you guys have found this exercise insightful. This is one of the many angles with which you can look at Tesla and try to understand the company and whether or not it makes sense to still be buying the stock today and how much value we're getting. What's its true underlying value when you look over the long term? The two numbers to take away from this are quite simple. One of them based on my own assumptions and one is simple math, just rounded a little bit. Every 50 shares of Tesla stock today is 1/20 millionth of the company. So if in 2030 Tesla produces 20 million vehicles, 50 shares, one vehicle. Very easy math. And assuming Tesla does $1.5 trillion of revenue in 2030 and there's 1 billion outstanding shares, that means every share's ownership of that revenue is approximately $1,500. Let's say there's a 10% profit on that, $150 profit per share in 2030 and 2031 and 2032, and you get the idea. So just finally before I go guys, let me know in the comments below what share of Tesla's 20 million vehicles produced in 2030 do you own based on how many shares of Tesla stock you hold today. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan, this is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget, if you live in the US and you'd like to help out the channel and get up to 4 free stocks, check out the link in the description to WeBull. If you open a new account, you'll get 2 free stocks between $2.50 and $250 each just for opening an account. And if you deposit $100, you'll get a further 2 free stocks valued between $8 and $1,600 each. And if you're in Australia, the UK or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake also using the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. PS, if you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.